is reporting that a large storm has developed in the vicinity of the pit area. Any travelers who might be headed toward that distant region are encouraged to delay further plans until the storm has passed.
Setting exposition, not important at all. Then we had the secret seed, where three dancers come out with flashlights glued to their hands and run around a little bit. It says in the script that was supposed to show us how moles have sex or something. It didn't look like sex to me either, but then again, we're not moles, right? Well, that's it for right now. I'll be over here watching along with you, and I'll be back out here when you're lost again.
God of the shade, God of the deep.
low-tech sort of way. But how many of you have any idea what's going on in the plot at this point in the show? Okay, well, good. One person has the record. Well, I'll do my best to fill in the rest of you, as I said, superficially. First of all, over here we had God of Darkness. That's just religious garbage. Forget about it. We then had Working Down Below, in which the residents want to tell us that the moles work down below and seem to enjoy it. Then we had First Warning, which is to get your attention with the lights going back and forth. That was followed by lulling you back to sleep with Return to Normality, which was a little thing with a Fred Flintstone's cradle going back and forth over here. And finally, we have the strobe lights and the pieces of cardboard being thrown out at you. And that was called The Sky Falls, and the mole's homeland has been destroyed. Coming up next is another religious number, so we can take another little break. 4 or 5 songs, the plot actually gets rather interesting and moves kind of quickly. This is what's going to happen. The mole's homeland has been destroyed, we saw that. We're going to see them crawl up out of the ground, head across the desert toward the sea. There's going to be a weird old man over here who's going to comment on it, and then finally they're going to be led, presumably, to the promised land. Now this is a section I feel strongly about because when I was a kid, my family's house burned down. We were away for the weekend, and when we came back, the fire trucks were there and everything. And my parents were very upset, but I thought it was kind of cool because they interviewed me on television, named the paper and stuff, because, little kid with his house burned down. And I always felt sorry for my dad because my dad used to take the bus to work, and after we moved to the new apartment, he'd often get on the wrong bus and get confused and have to get off and get on a different bus. And what you're about to see is kind of like 1 million moles who are all on the wrong bus and all very confused. time, I developed a theory as to who the residents are and how exactly they work, and I'd like to share that with you. I believe that there is only one resident, and that he controls the other three exactly like he controls all the rest of us. Let me show you. These lights aren't really made for this, but don't get excited, it's just me. Other residents here. Thank you. Actually, that had nothing at all to do with the residents. I just wanted to show you that I could juggle. I was a juggler with Ringley Brothers for a while. I've done quite a few other things. I've written a couple shows, and I've written a couple TV things, and on top of everything else, I'm a fire reader. I'm a fire reader. I don't actually do that much anymore. But I'm doing a little fire reading for a show. I'd like to do a little fire reading for you right now. Just go ahead and give me a second, okay? I just want to do this, yes. Music, I understand. Good lights down the end, the new land, and the new land looks like this. They've opted to paint the backdrop. There's more color here. And this is the land of the chubs, and this little fellow right here is a chub. We're going to be seeing a lot more of those. And the chubs are going to welcome the moles with open little chubby arms. But the reason is not because the chubs want to help out the moles, but rather because the chubs can use the cheap labor. They're going to exploit the moles, stick them in the pits, make them do maids' work, that kind of stuff. And it bothers me, because I have this thing about justice. I believe that fair is fair. And in this case, the moles, they got to be in the right. They had to leave. We saw that. Strobe lights, everything. But the chubs can let them in either nicely or evilly. And that's what they're doing, evil, to exploit. So fair is not fair. And that's what really bothers me, that fair is not fair because of the chubs' attitude. Not actually what they're doing, because I don't want the moles working, but rather because... Okay, you're starting up. She's got it. out here, which is unnecessary. I got people yelling and posters talking here. And I want to tell you why I'm out here stating the obvious. The reason I'm out here doing this is because the residents gave me a plane ticket from Los Angeles, California, out to here. They put me on the bus. They pay for my food. They give me per diem. I get a salary. You might say it's kind of a weird joke by the residents, but if it is, it's kind of an expensive one. And I get to go out on the bus with these gentlemen, eat snack food backstage, and you don't. So that's that. Thank you. anywhere else. We didn't use this in the United States. The residents and the promoters and the managers, people like the guy on the soundboard, Andy Corrigan, were deciding that if we were going to play to this kind of rock and roll audience and people stand up and shake their arms around, they wanted a rock and roll ending. So they put this war machine in, which has nothing at all to do with the moles or the chubs. It's an excuse for the residents to play loud because, quite frankly, they don't give a fuck about you. All they care about is getting, all they care about, they don't give a fuck about you. What they care about is getting admission to sell more fucking copies, okay? Cunts like this want to make money. Can you hear me in the headphones? I'll make a deal with you. We got one more show tomorrow night. 70 home tonight, get an airplane ticket, half salary for the whole rest of the time. Just get me the fuck out of here, okay? It's fucking humiliating, it's bad for my career, and you're assholes. I want to go home and sing like the Beverly Hillbilly. Fuck, man.
Sometimes you have to get a little lower. You have to get a little lower. You just have to kind of stop. If you get real confused,
Everybody out there needs something. And probably all it is a little satisfaction.